Hi, my name's Rachel, and today we are talking about something. Hold on. I don't remember. What are we doing today? Today we're discussing To Those We Found by George Ander, which is a queer sci-fi book. And this video was commissioned by Chrissy, who mentioned that the author had at one point, I didn't see this happen, so I'm hearing this secondhand, grabbed a 1-star review of his book and then went and posted about it and noted all the other 1-star reviews from this reviewer, which is not the only author I've seen do this, obviously. So I went on Goodreads and I did notice that the author does comment on negative reviews uninvited, and while those comments are not unpleasant as far as I have seen, those comments did go unanswered, and the reason is likely that the reviewer was not trying to talk to the author in the first place, just like the reviewer who left the 1-star that was screenshotted was not trying to talk to the author in the first place, most likely. So I just want to make that abundantly clear that this review, like all of my other reviews, are for readers. I am not doing this to give feedback to the author. This is not for the author. This video is for my audience to inform and entertain and discuss with my audience. Okay? Okay. Chrissy commissioned me to see if the book was good. My opinion is that it is not. This is a weird as hell sci-fi book, which I did not like. You know what this book reminds me of? You know that scene from Family Guy? Is it Family Guy? Where they are making fun of like the hopelessness and weirdness of like the end of sci-fi.
We now return to the end of a depressing 1970s sci-fi movie starring a guy in a turtleneck.
We've gone far enough. I think we're safe from the corporation here.
Adzin, look!
It can't be! No! Never defeat the corporation! They've won!
There is one way, Adzin. You can shoot yourself.
If it's the only way, I must.
That's exactly how I feel about this. This man wrote a book with aliens where all the body parts were named just like other human body parts named. They were described a little differently, like nostrils are swirly, but they're still called nostrils, right? Except for teeth. These humans call their these aliens call their teeth tooth plates. It was so astronomically, pun intended, stupid. The term tooth plates was used 29 times, except for this one time where he's talking about another being and he says, two opposing rows of what must be some sort of teeth. What do you mean some sort of teeth? They're teeth. Wouldn't it be some sort of tooth plates? Anyways, why are eyelids still called eyelids and freckles are still called freckles, but teeth are called tooth plates? 29 times. As you can see, I'm pretty picky about sci-fi, although I'm pretty picky in general. But this was so unenjoyably and annoyingly weird. I'm going to review this and then I'm going to give recommendations for sci-fi books that I actually like so that you can know what my taste is. Your taste might align with this and, you know, like more power to you, like what you like. But if your taste is more like mine, I do have recommendations at the end so that you can, pick from them. If you're looking for a sci-fi rec from me, they are at the end of the video. Okay? I did not understand what the fuck was happening. This felt so devoid of human emotion. It was staggering, and I really did not understand it. I did not understand what we were doing, what the plot was, what the point was, what the theme was trying to convey to me. I hated it. Let me just tell you what happens. There was a competition, supposedly. I could read you the synopsis. Should I read it to you? I should read it to you. I'm still not sure why it was called To Those We Found, because those words are never uttered, and I would really have to make a lot of assumptions in order to bridge the gap between what happened in the book and the title. Okay, in a far-off galaxy, the purple-skinned alien Taman Yetter left his home colony for the mother world Yema. As one among billions, he was chosen to represent his home system and compete against 6 other chosen ones in a grand contest called the Enormous Report, a welcome message that's intended to be sent to another species that they have discovered. After meeting his sponsor, he embarks on a high-speed journey to locations of historical and cultural significance. This way, he must capture the essence of his species. Yet on his way, angry mobs of protesters seemingly try to stop his progress. They are terrorists, he is told, but are they truly as evil as the government says? And will Taman survive to finish the contest? My question is, what fucking contest? So we start out and Tam and Yetter is at some sort of facility where a doctor is being weird and mean to him, and I still don't understand why. He was supposed to go on a mission to this other world, what is it called? Yema. Though this has queer rep in it, as a queer person, I was uncomfortable with the queer rep in it. Like, I don't feel good about what I read. Like, I was kind of icked out by it, honestly. So there's a competition, and what they're competing for I don't really understand. Like, apparently, and we don't see the other competitors, by the way, we just see Tammin. So they're competing for the chance to be like the spokesperson for the report that is going to be sent to a different planet to tell them about their planet. That's what they're competing for. I don't really get it. So he gets into it with his doctor, who's like trying to do weird shit to him. He runs away. He gets to like the top of this building that he's in, and like this spacecraft is trying to land, and then he, I guess, gets knocked out. I don't know. We never really figure out like what that spacecraft was. I don't remember. You know what else this reminds me of? Out of the Silent Planet, which I also fucking hated and thought was stupid. I don't like sci-fi like that. I am really picky about sci-fi, okay? Let me tell you that I like to gauge where I'm at with sci-fi. I thought that Project Hail Mary was just sort of middle of the road. So maybe if you gave Project Hail Mary a 5, maybe you'll give this a 3. I don't know. I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to help. Even when I don't like a book, I do try to help, you know, people if I feel like it has an audience. I'll try to help it find its audience, but I don't know who this audience is. Like, even like if it was written for the queers, it wasn't written for the queers like me, like queer women who are also like cisgender. I don't feel like this was written for us. Like, maybe gay men, maybe, but like not in like a strong way. And I don't know, this was so weird. Okay, so he gets into a fight with his doctor. He's like on the top of a building, and there's a spaceship, and then later he like gets knocked out. He wakes up and he was like, where's the spaceship? They're like, what spaceship? And I'm fucking confused. I don't know if that ever got answered. I just don't honestly understand at all what happened in the beginning or its relevance to the rest of the story. But then again, I don't remember what happened in the middle of it and its relevance to the rest of the story. Nothing really feels relevant to the story here. I also don't understand the writing, because sometimes lines would say things that actually like did not make sense, and it made me wonder if this book had an editor at all. So for instance, he's on this planet, he comes across a kid who's like sort of a different race-ish than him, I guess. Anyway, he said the kid suddenly bolts up and starts trudging off. So trudging means to walk slowly with like heavy steps, like you trudge through snow, right? You trudge upstairs after a long day. You don't bolt up and then trudge. Like, those feel like two very different things. And then another one was like, arms lock around my waist, and when he forces our bodies together, it feels like a stove. It feels like a stove, so like greasy, needs a wipe down. Like, I get it's trying to convey heat, but like, why did you pick stove of all the words? With my heels suddenly clattering to a stop, I sway at the edge of a fountain. Clattering is a weird word to pick for that. Heels don't really clatter to a stop? I don't get it. Anyway, the writing is kind of weird. We got some flashback scenes where he takes this test to like determine his eligibility and try to like win his spot into the contest so that he can find out if he's eligible to like go and do this enormous report. But the test somehow identifies that he's queer, and that's not good in this world, though I don't really understand why. And then he tells his family that he's going to go do the enormous report, and I didn't really have a good understanding of his family life or like what his job was or what his life was like at all before he went to go to this planet that he woke up on. And then by the time he gets to the planet, he like sees an obituary notice that his family's dead. I was pretty surprised at how little that meant to him, which is why I felt like this book was sort of devoid of human emotion, and not in a way that like makes sense, you know, because they're aliens, but just in a way that felt like the writing did not really like, you know, we're supposed to be trying to understand this inhuman being who has different emotions than us. Before he leaves, his friend Axel, who is this like married dude with children, tells him that he's in love with him and kisses him, and then basically he never thinks about Axel again after he goes on this journey, and like assumedly Axel is dead by now. That was really weird. Again, it just didn't feel like typical emotional responses. So he meets with his sponsor, which I don't really understand this competition at all. It's this rich dude named Guafa, and Guafa sends him out with Guafa's driver Udad to do the enormous report, which consists of him like running around to different places and collecting information about the planet, like museums and shit. Felt like it was the most ridiculous and unnecessary scavenger scavenger hunt. Like, I'm not even sure what the point was. Why did we need a competition for that? Couldn't we just gather the information and then send it out to those we found? Like, why are we doing a scavenger hunt for information that y'all are gonna then send to aliens? I don't understand. He keeps seeing, like, as he's, you know, traipsing around doing this scavenger hunt, people living in poverty and I think different races of alien. I don't really know how different they were from his own race. They're all dealing with, like, different stuff, like weird stuff, like they're eating weird non-food, and he meets one group of them and they have no elders. He like immediately realizes they have no elders, and I'm like, you spent like 3 seconds with them and you're like, where are the old people? Like, what the fuck is going on? So he's saying what I guess is classism, but the weirdness is so jarring. I don't know what I was supposed to feel other than fucking confused. So as he's like beep-bopping around, going to different places on this planet, gathering information, one of the places he goes, he runs into a dude named Tagelit. It says, maybe some of the protesters got in another way, but if this facility is compromised, why would they let me through as well? Anyway, sooner or later, someone will come and hopefully explain what's going on. And so he's like immediately thinking like, okay, this is a compromised place and this guy might not be legitimate. But then he just keeps going with like the information getting. I don't know. And this guy Tagelit is more feminine, and immediately Tammin is like put off by that. And also he calls him honey constantly. As in, after we meet Tagelit, he calls him honey 38 times in this book. 38 times! And at one point, I don't remember what they were talking about, but he tells Tammin that he doesn't need to get something. It says, firstly, they are uncomfortable, and secondly, I think you would look fat in it. Why are we doing fat phobia? We're on a different planet. Aliens even have fatness? We couldn't have done away with that? What the fuck? So like in this scene, there's a lot of like fat phobia and then like anti-femininity, and like even aliens are subscribing to human ideas around gender. Why? He's like, relax honey, here they call me Tagelit. See, I'm doing this because I'm already assuming like what I'm supposed to be thinking, and immediately Tammin thinks to himself, Tagelit, this name does keep me suspicious though. It's an old term that describes the female leader of a royal family. Why would anyone choose such a name for a boy? He's a man after all, no matter what he's wearing or how much makeup he puts on his face or how whimsical his movements are. Also, I can't imagine him surviving school like this. What? But most likely, he developed this avant-garde look long after that. Getting a job like this should prove impossible though, and yet there he is, leading me through the world's leading bio company. Oh, we're at a bio company? God, I forgot about that. Tagelit is talking shit about their race, saying, that's what our kind has done since day one. Nature has was in a bad shape long before this technology. In a way, this was just the final nail in the coffin. Tammin thinks to himself, I can't hide my entry. His ethics hardly reflect those of the company he allegedly works for, and his looks even less so. Weird or not, what he says makes sense, and I feel like I can trust him. Everything about that is confusing to me. Why did you say allegedly works for? You already think that he does. Why don't you check in with somebody and be like, hey, I don't think this person works for this company. Why are you so obsessed with his looks? Why are aliens subscribing to human ideas around gender? And why did you end that with saying, I feel like I can trust him? You what? And then all of a sudden, like, they're talking and Tagelit puts his hands on Tammin Yetter's shoulders and pulls him closer for a kiss. My heart nearly leaps out of my chest as I realize that his lips are about to touch mine. What's wrong with you? I lash out, pulling myself free. So sorry, honey. I get a little out of control when I'm excited, he says, chuckling sheepishly. My chest still rises and falls rapidly. I can't believe this guy nearly kissed me. It's almost like when Axel surprised me right before my departure. But no, he never dressed this funny, nor did he wear makeup. Oh yes, Axel didn't do those crimes. Like, what the fuck? So he thinks to himself, this guy must be a terrorist. But why would he risk his mission to show me around? Good question. I'm still wondering about that. And there's this part that's like supposed to be funny where he realizes that Tagelit is like obviously a terrorist. And he says, I knew something was up, I say, trying to avoid his face, which is gleaming with triumph. He suddenly gasps as if he's lost something precious. You think I put on too much eyeliner? They're having this conversation and he realizes that he is indeed like a terrorist, right? And so there's like this weird Someone's like insta love. Like, have y'all never met another man? Like, is that what's going on here? He's like, for a moment, he even has me convinced that his feelings are true, that he is fond of me. You've known each other for 3 seconds. What the fuck is going on? And then so T'Challa like sends him on his way because he's doing terrorist shit. And he goes, there you go, honey. He says, shuffling me inside. Enjoy your tour and good luck with that report. He says, blowing me a kiss. I pretend to gag. Good luck dodging bullets. I sneer at him while the door closes. Okay. Obviously this is supposed to be like internalized homophobia, but this is the worst internalized homophobia writing that I have ever read in my life. He goes to talk to someone else in the name of the enormous report, whatever the fuck that is, and they tell him something really weird that made me really fucking uncomfortable. They're talking about a old religion, and it says, there's a reason why it is called the religion of love. Same-sex relationships were not only legal, but sacred. Not exactly ideal for a mission dependent on reproduction, he says, shaking his head. Sacred? I stroke my lower lips. According to their prophet, same-sex love is the most pure because it transcends the purpose of reproduction. I am so fucking uncomfortable with that statement. So same-sex love is the most pure because it transcends the purpose of reproduction. As a bisexual person with a uterus, fuck off. I don't like that. That feels like somehow the flip side of like how bigots, homophobes are like, well, the queers can't have children, so they are evil and against nature and anti-Bible. This feels like the flip side of that, and it's like, well, our love is purer because it transcends reproduction. And I'm over here in the middle, a bisexual with a uterus who has 2 kids, and I'm like, can y'all fucking stop talking about me? Because I feel like both of the people in this conversation, other than me, are cis men, and I'm uncomfortable as fuck. I'm uncomfortable. So he gets found out for being queer. He also does some shit that was like not supposed to be done because the terrorists set him up. So he gets kicked out of the enormous report competition, I guess. Whatever the fuck that was. Again, we never saw any competitors. I don't fucking know. I think a couple of them died off page. I don't know. He ends up with the rebels. They go to do the enormous report, and T'Challa, the love interest, also joins as a competitor somehow. And there was singing. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. And then they kiss on stage in front of everyone, which obviously does not go over well because this is aliens, but make it homophobic. It's never really clear that Tammin really joins the rebels because he always feels like in the middle, which I felt was like a weird both sides narrative, like both sides do evil stuff. And it's really difficult to do a both sides narrative in books with nuance, and yeah, this was one of those books that did not portray that with nuance. They decide that Tammin, who by the way somehow won the enormous report contest thing, should go to the big party at the end, but should poison everybody. He goes, and his sponsor Guafa, who was like kind of evil all along, I guess, like takes a piece of meat and it's off of a person, like they're all eating another person. So he's like, oh my god, disgusting, they're so evil. And he doesn't want to poison everybody, he just wants to poison Guafa, but then he accidentally drops the cup into the basin with all the drinks. He leaves crying, and T'Challa is like, why are you crying? You did what you were supposed to do. And Tammin's like, but there were children there. And T'Challa's like, fuck them kids. They're shot down in their ship, I think, and they land in the ocean. T'Challa is dead. Tammin is captured and taken to do some sort of speech in front of everybody. So he's got nothing left to lose. So it ends with him about to tell everybody that the people in charge are evil. And it just ends there. The end. Roll credit. I suppose that this book was supposed to be about like classism, maybe, and like maybe colonialism, maybe. And definitely about homophobia. Like there's, you know, talks about conversion therapy in here. But in every way, it does not do anything of value with any of those topics. Literature has the power to tackle important themes and reflect the complexities that we find in this world. And to those we found attempts to explore classism but fall short of delivering any sort of like thought-provoking narrative that effectively addresses this theme. And as I was reading, I was hoping to find like a nuanced portrayal of classism and its impact on individuals and societies, and like have a conversation about that using a world that is not ours. But unfortunately, this lacked any sort of depth and did not offer any sort of comprehensive exploration of that topic. I don't feel like the person who wrote it really has a good understanding of that topic, to be honest. The colonialism aspect often felt like the classism aspect often felt like superficial and half-baked, leaving me as the reader like wanting more insightful analysis. It also, again, promised like queer representations, part of the marketing, hoping to like offer, you know, diversity in space. But the representation of gay identities here, it feels weirdly tokenistic. I mean, at a minimum, like underdeveloped. This lack of nuance is going to make it really challenging, I think, for any readers who are not cisgendered gay men to see themselves in the story. Like, as a queer person myself, I do not see myself reflected in this story. The queer relationship in this between Tammin and Tagelit is like weird and stilted in dialogue, certainly. Like the way that everybody talks in here just feels like not normal. But then when you consider that line about same-sex love being the purest love because it goes beyond reproduction, that felt, again, as a bi person with a uterus, very erasing of my queerness. It's essential that like queer representation is portrayed authentically and also inclusively, allowing readers from all walks of life, all walks of queerness to resonate with the characters and their journeys. And this imbalance, it feels like it's going to perpetuate like a narrow understanding of what it means to be queer and limit the potential for empathy and like an intersectional perspective and understanding among readers. Like, I don't feel like anybody who's straight is going to read this and have a good understanding about queerness. We really have to move on from this like singular focus and create a more inclusive and representative body of work, centering the experiences of many identities within the LGBTQ plus community is a necessary step towards acknowledging the complexities of queerness. By doing so, queer literature can do powerful things. It can be such a powerful tool for change, one that lifts up all voices. I just don't think we get there by doing like the flip side of what the homophobes are saying, you know? We have to foster empathy and solidarity amongst the LGBTQ plus community and beyond. A more inclusive representation would encourage like unity and shared commitment to equality. So I would encourage people to seek out stories that do better with these themes, and I have some recommendations for you. So first, I would recommend Gear Breakers by Zoe Hanemakuta, which is a sapphic sci-fi story. If you like Pacific Rim, you'd probably like it. It features like these big power robots that are powered by people. There's a war, and it talks a lot about classism, and also it features a bisexual protagonist, and I believe the other protagonist is a lesbian. It might be two bi girls. Anyway, they're in love. One that is similar but not sapphic. It does feature not exactly the same robots, different and a completely different setting, but it also deals with classism, racism, sexism, and breaking out of those gender stereotypes is Iron Widow by Jiranjay Zhao. It's one of my favorites. I think people were expecting this to be fantasy, but it is sci-fi, and it features polyamorous relationship between the main character Wu Zetian and her two boyfriends who are also in love. I think it's really fucking good, but it can kind of be contentious in the book community. But if you're looking for one that is adult and it's kind of light on the romance part, but it is sapphic. The Dawn Hounds is a like futuristic sci-fi written by a Maori author and it has a lot of like Maori folklore written into it, and it does deal with the topic of homophobia in great detail, and I think it does that very well. It also talks in depth about classism, and it's also got like bioscience, like plant science, but it's futuristic, it's sci-fi, but it's set in like a city. It's not set in space. If you want one set in space that talks a lot about queer identity, I didn't finish this because it was so not plot focused that I didn't want to rate it low because I'm such a plot girly. But Victory is Greater Than Death by Charlie Jane Anders is written by a trans woman, and it talks in great detail. It's got tons and tons of queer rep, like everybody's queer, everybody queer. And it also has anxiety rep, which I thought was good, but again, it just at 50% I was like, there is no plot in this book. So as a plot girly, I had to dip. It's got a pretty cover though, but if you're looking for like queer rep that is actually in space, I would try that. One that is also set in space that has queer rep and talks a lot about classism, like a whole fucking lot, is An Unkindness of Ghosts by River Solomon. That's the whole fucking premise. It's set on a ship where there is deep issues with classism, and It's so queer. It is just super queer. One that the first book is not sapphic, but the second book is, but does talk a lot about racism and classism and the erasure of communities, is Mirage by Sumaya Dowd. This is kind of light on the sci-fi elements, like sometimes we fly around on a spaceship, and you might be surprised to find out that this is sci-fi, but it is in fact sci-fi. And one more that is not it's not queer, barely touches on the idea of classism really all that much. I just love it. It's The Diabolic. I fucking love The Diabolic. It has my, like, one of, probably my favorite trope of all time in it, which is person who is standing in for another person as like their decoy. That's my fucking favorite. My favorite. If you have recs for that, please leave them down below. I'm dying for it. So hopefully this gives you an idea of like what sci-fi I like to read and gives you some recs to go on for like queer sci-fi and sci-fi talking about classism. That's all I have for you today. Leave your comments and questions down below. Like and subscribe if you want to. You can join Patreon channel memberships. Hello, it's Trashcan Rachel, and I have to say thank you for being a friend to my Therapy Bills patrons, and those are Alexander, Allie Magpie, Amanda M, Ashley B, Bubble Tea, Cami, Chris, Claire, Des Robert, DJ Raptopus, Emperor's New Blues, Aaron, Eric, Faror, Jack and Jill, John E, Casey McKenzie, Kate, Caitlin, Kelly K, Quinn, Lady Kittybug, Lek, Molly, Alice, Peggy, Rain. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me back there? Reese, Samar, Scarlett, Shiny, SMK. Thank you all so much for being a friend.
And before I go out to say thank you for being a friend to my Potato Starch Marxist patrons, and those are AM Angel, Alicia, Amanda B, Andy, Angelica, Anita, Artie the Ninth, Ashley H, Ava, BB, Beck, Blythe, Bookish Brainrot, Ray, Bree, Brian, Caitlin, Harlan, Catherine, Kathy, Chris, CJ, Cole, Colleen, Corwin, Corey, Darren, Deborah, Diet Goth, Dorian, Dorothea, Ebby, Elise, Ember, Emily A, Emily L, Emma O A, Aaron, Aaron K, Hannah C, Hannah T, Harpy Kiro, Hello There Darling, Ilianaka, India Inc, JM Tenant, Jay is on Olympus, JD, Jen with 2 N's, Jennifer T, Jenny G, Jillian, Jules, Just Pugsley, Kaylee, Kat, Katie, Katya, Kayala, Kendra, Kylie, Laughing Cat Dog, Laura, Lauren B, Library of Scars, Lisa B, Lou Siri, Luna Moth, Lustful Octopus, Martin, Marcella, Marquita, Maz, Malara, Meow Meow, James, Nat, Natalie M, Never, Nicole G, Nicole R, Nyan Binary, Paige E, Paige P, Penny Chilling, Foxglove, Pixel Stars, Pure Raytheon, Rachel B, Rat Sarah, Reba, Rebecca, Ren, Robin, Rosie, Rowan, Other Rowan, Secoria, Sadie, Samantha, Sarah C, Sarah H, Sarah the Bear, Shamed, Shanae, Shannon, Shayna, Sheena K, Sean, Sierra, Stephanie, Talia, 3 Old Dogs, Tiana, Tina, Toast, Trash Can Teddy, Title Phoenix, Valentine, and Writer A. Thank you all so much for being a friend.